What is going on, you guys? So today I wanted to go over kind of my experience going to a boot camp. I went to a full stack boot camp in mid 2018 and I have a lot of thoughts on it. I think in some ways you should go, in some other ways maybe you should not go. So this video is kind of a way to weigh the pros and cons and see what works out best for you. I don't have a definitive answer for everyone. I have an answer for how I feel about it. So first things first, my parents paid for it. I did not pay for it. I didn't go to college, so this was kind of their way of helping me out with education. Full disclosure, it was about, I think, $9,000. They're not cheap. None of them are cheap, and I think they're way more expensive than that now. I think they might be like 15 grand in some cases, which is crazy to me. You know, everyone's in a different financial situation, but that is a lot of money. For most people, that's a ton of money, and 9,000 bucks was a lot for my parents. So in my opinion, I've written down, these are not all of the benefits of a coding bootcamp, but these are some of the benefits that I've come to remember and come to recognize from the coding bootcamp. You get to meet a lot of like-minded people. This doesn't mean you'll be friends with them. This doesn't mean you'll talk to them after the fact, but at least you'll be able to exchange words during that time period, and you might become friends. I'm friends with a couple of people, shout out Christian, from the boot camp. But yeah, like, you're not going to become close to all of them. You might become close during the boot camp, but other than that, you probably won't talk to most of the people. But it's good to, like, I don't know anyone else that codes in my life. I don't know anyone else. So during that time period, it's really cool to have some people around you that do the same thing. Next is being able to reach out to teachers and TAs. You don't really get that in real life until you get a job, when you can reach out to your boss or your coworkers that do similar things. But until that point, unless you're really good at networking when you're learning, you don't really have these kind of connections with people. And by the way, for context, I am a web developer now. I've been working professionally for about 2 years now. Next, one of the big benefits is you learn base level knowledge on a lot of things across the board. So you're probably not gonna become an expert on anything. I mean, you really can't become an expert in 3 months or 6 months. Like, mine was 3 months. You're not gonna become an expert in 3 months no matter what. So like, keep your expectations in check when you're learning how to code, regardless. But you'll learn a base level knowledge of a lot of things across the board. I'm probably gonna miss a few things, but in my bootcamp, I learned HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, SQL, SQLize, MongoDB, Mongoose. There's some other stuff, but I can't remember. A lot of things. Next, you are not exactly reliant on your own discipline and systems. You do still need discipline. If you weren't at a boot camp, you'd be completely reliant on yourself, and you would have to kind of structure your own way, motivate yourself to do things. You don't have homework that's like, okay, you don't also have money that you've spent. You didn't spend $15,000. So if you're just learning for free, it'd be really easy to just put things off and stuff. But if you paid $15,000 or $10,000 or $1,000, you're like, okay, I can't waste this money. So I need to learn something. I need to get something out of this. So that's that. Career services. This is something I didn't do like at all when I was there, which is one of the things coming up. But you get mock interview, at least in my case, I got mock interviews, I got resume reviews, or the opportunity to get these things, cover letter reviews. Oh, something I forgot to list is job fairs. There was a lot of job fairs that happened, and demo days, that was a big one. So if you had a really cool project, or really any project that utilized the things that you learn or things that are in demand, you could bring it to these demo days, and people, like recruiters, would be coming by. Recruiters are your best friend, by the way. I'm just gonna say that now. Make friends with recruiters, as many as you can. The demo days were a big deal. I know people got jobs. Some people got jobs right away. Like, some people that were really kicking butt. Joel, if you ever watch this, you got a job really quick and it was really dope. But yeah, another benefit, possibly, depending on who you are, it's very intense. I went to, like I said, the 3-month one, which was like the most intense one. I think it was a full-time boot camp. It was about 5 or 6 hours a day. It was intense, and that was just learning. So it was in person, it wasn't online. Like, you have the regular day of learning, and then you also have homework and studying So it's a lot. Your whole day, pretty much. When you're in the boot camp, you are gonna be like, it's gonna be code all day. If you take it seriously, it's gonna be all day code. So that's that. Structure, the biggest part. The biggest thing about a boot camp is structure. It will just give you structure right off the bat. You have curriculums, you have worksheets, you have like step-by-step kind of guides during the day. They'll tell you how to do things, but also like the homework, at least at the boot camp I went to, the homework was very well structured. It was kind of like, do this, then do this, then do this, and then do this. And you won't have that in real life, but like to have that when you're just learning is awesome, because you'll have no freaking clue what you're doing most of the time in the boot camp, because it's like the majority of the time you are jumping from subject to subject. Like the minute you get, if you're anything like me, the minute you get remotely comfortable with something in that boot camp, you're on to the next thing. And it's like, oh, we were doing Mongo that last week and I'm finally comfortable with that. Oh, well, we're doing SQL now, so none of the things you just learned matter. They do, but in different ways. So structure's huge. If you don't have structure, if you don't go to a boot camp, you can build out your own structure. And I think that's totally possible. If you want to save some money, and that's kind of coming up in the why you shouldn't go to a boot camp section. This dude above me. This dude above me has the heaviest footsteps on the freaking planet. It's like shaking my apartment. So that's the structure. The structure is awesome. And a big one, not that big of a deal, actually, this one that's coming up, but it's something to mention. It's a credential that you can put on your LinkedIn. It's something to put on your resume. So like in the education section, I mean, that's a plus. You don't really get to put that if you just take a course like on Udemy. It doesn't really count as a credential like that. So why should you not go to a boot camp? It's not all pluses. And you can read all these and just leave right now if you wanted to, but I'm gonna give you my thoughts on each of these. So don't click off. And also, please like the video. So why should you not go to a boot camp? This was one of the pros, but it also could be a con depending on who you are. It is intense. It is super intense. If you get burned out easily, I mean, you probably will get burned out for a while. Like when I finished the boot camp, if I did go as hard as I could have, like a lot of the people in the class did, I'm sure they burned out. I sure as heck burnt out. I did not want to code afterwards, but that's okay. I came back to it and now I'm super passionate about coding. So just because you burn out doesn't mean you're burnt out for good. It's just like you're burned out for a little while and just take a break. That's fine. But just make sure you come back to it. Don't just forget about code. I think I went without coding for like 3 months. And you can tell on my GitHub this one period after the boot camp where it was just like nothing. I didn't do anything. I didn't work on a single thing. But I picked back up, you know? I picked back up and I took it seriously once I was like, wait, I need to make use of this. There's a lot of homework, self-studying. I've already gone through that. Another reason you shouldn't go to a boot camp, potentially, is nothing you'll learn at a boot camp is something you couldn't learn yourself. So like that's kind of where the structure comes into play, is like you can appreciate the structure, but you can also literally do everything in a boot camp. There's nothing special at a boot camp. There's no special formulas to do things. It's just structure. You could literally look up learning paths and outlines online, and like on Reddit or on YouTube, there are countless videos on YouTube that will give you the same structure or better structures, honestly, because videos are very up to date, whereas a boot camp might not be. Like you might be working, hopefully the boot camp you go to, if you do go to a boot camp, has an updated curriculum, but they don't always. Sometimes you'll be learning, I don't know, jQuery in 2023, and you know, no shade on jQuery, but you're probably, unless you're working on a super old code base, that's a big one. If you're okay with, if you want to save some money, do it yourself and make that make a system in your head or make a system in your life. Set aside the same time that you'd be at a boot camp and just go hard at learning how to code. You can 100% do it, and you can do it in the same amount of time as a boot camp. The certificate doesn't mean much at all, like at all. I don't know if I said that already, but most people don't care about the certificate. No job I've ever interviewed at or like applied to was like, you have a boot camp certificate? Yeah, that's equivalent to a college degree. It's not. No job is gonna substitute a boot camp certificate for a degree. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't really weigh much. That's what I mean. There's a ton of high quality tutorials online, a ton of them. Figure out what you need to learn, like make your path and then study those things. If you don't want to go to boot camp or if you want to save the money, do that. Expensive as hell. It's expensive. It is expensive. It's too much money, in my opinion, for what you get. You could make the argument that, like, yes, you do make a lot of money in this field. Almost guaranteed. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say guarantee. I'm not gonna say that G word. There's a good chance you'll probably make a good living if you work in tech. And it's an invaluable skill to have. So, because you could build your own apps that make millions of dollars. You could do anything. It's really an awesome skill. So if you want to learn how to code, it's awesome. Highly recommend. It's going to be a long road regardless. So why not take the cheap route? You're not going to get a job more than likely in 3 months. I don't want to say that you can't, because it's possible. I know people that did, but it's probably not going to happen. Okay, what could I have done better? This is my critiques of myself from the bootcamp and what you should not do. This is how you should not do things. I did not try hard enough. I slacked off in class a lot. And I was a terrible student in high school. I had, I think, a 2.3 GPA. It was bad. So I didn't really know, like, if you're good at school, you probably won't do the same things I did, but I slacked off a lot. I half-assed my homework most of the time. I can count probably on a number on my hands how many times I did the whole assignment, which is crazy to think of. If you put things into practice when you code, you're gonna learn so much more than if you just don't. Like, that sounds crazy to say, but like, putting things into practice is the best way to learn. I didn't have a good study system. When we had a test or something coming up, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I never knew. Like, the whole time, I did not know what I was doing until like the very end when I really started to take things seriously. I didn't really know what I was doing that much. And honestly, I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing. That never goes away, but in a real way, I did not know what I was doing when I was in that boot camp. I did not utilize career services at all. At all. Like, not even a little bit. I didn't do anything. I think the first thing that they told us we could do, like the first draft resume review, I didn't even do that. I didn't go to a single job fair. Don't do that. I feel bad for my parents. They spent all this money on a boot camp. Thankfully, it ended up working out, but like, I did not take advantage of anything. And if you see this, my parents, I'm sorry about that. Thank you for letting me go to the boot camp. So would I choose to go to boot camp if I could start all over? You can read all this right now, but I'm gonna read it one by one. Given the opportunity, I would probably go to boot camp. If I could do it all over again, I probably would go to a boot camp, because it would take me probably a lot longer on my own. Knowing me, you, maybe not. It might take less time. I don't know. You're your own person. I have no idea how you are at studying, at working, at stuff like that when you're just learning a hard. Coding's hard, especially when you're new. When you're learning a new thing at first, how you would be, only you can answer that. But for me, it would have taken a lot longer on my own. I learned a ton. When I came out of the boot camp, even though I did a lot of things wrong, I still learned a lot, which is cool. I met some cool people, like I said. Shout out Christian. I met some cool people, and Francis. Shout out Francis and Max. But yeah, met some cool people. This is kind of a small deal, but something for my education. I just have high school, but now I have high school and boot camp. And that was a big deal to me because I didn't go to college. I kind of am self-conscious about that, especially if I'm like looking for a job. It's kind of nice to have something else there. And even if you did go to college, it counts enough. I mean, it counts enough to be on your education part of your resume. So why not have it there? If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them, honestly. If you have any questions about boot camps or learning how to code or anything like that, I'm the furthest thing from an expert, but I do have opinions. I do have some knowledge. So yeah, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you want to see next, and peace.